It's the Thursday edition of Fargo Street on Boston Ho Radio. Tyler Sullivan here with you. Christian Burgoyne joining me, talking a little NBA Finals during the break. We'll bring it on the air, too. Why not? Game 6 happening tonight in Cleveland. Golden State Warriors up 3-2. The big news, I guess, maybe big just in terms of size more than anything else, because I don't know how much of an impact he is on the floor, or at least as much as people are making out to be. Andrew Bogut's not going to play the rest of the series. He has bone bruises. Is that what we're calling it? Knee injuries. Knee. It's a knee injury with bone bruises. He's not going in for surgery, but he's out for 6 to 8 weeks. And so he is not going to be a factor here. I don't think that it matters much in terms of Andrew Bogut being there. Again, the Warriors are better when they go small anyways. And you look at, again, he had 5 blocks in the Warriors Game 2 victory, but then he only averages like 12 minutes a game during this finals. He averages 3.2 points. He grabs 3 rebounds per game. Overall, he's just, again, and he's not even one of those guys, in my opinion, who is, a non-box score guy. You see the 4 points and the 3 rebounds and stuff, but then you say, okay, but that you got to look beyond the box score. I don't even know if he's a beyond the box score kind of player, where his impact can't be quantified in points, rebounds, or maybe he's just a defensive anchor. He definitely gives some presence there. He's a big dude. It's not like he is this little guy. He's like 7'1" or something like that.
He gets you the blocks.
He's a big guy.
He gets like 4 or 5 blocks a game, which is nice. He has been.
He's a presence
for the playoffs. The Warriors go small. The Warriors play small for most of the game. He's out there for like 11, 12 minutes. He's not going to be out there for 40 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever. So I don't think he missed as much as people may think he may be.
Yeah.
I did see a stat today for the playoffs. With Green on the floor without Bogut, they're plus 60. With Bogut on the floor without Green, they're minus 1.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, I don't think it's going to be as big of a miss as people may think.
Right, but that's plus minus to me is a very misleading.
You're not a fan?
Not a fan of it in the NBA. I'm a big fan of it in hockey. I'm not a big fan of it in NBA just because it gets
that
kooky.
Large of a difference. It's a plus 61 and the difference.
And the reason why I don't like it is because how many more minutes does Draymond Green play as opposed to Andrew Bogut?
Yeah.
We just talked about it. He plays about 12 minutes.
Yeah, he's not out there most of the game.
In a game. And then all of a sudden, when the Warriors are blowing people out, Draymond Green is racking up the pluses. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so that's a little misleading.
But I've also never seen it, and this happens quite often during the game.
But again,
he misses shots from 2 feet from the basket.
Yeah, we're not saying that he's a great basketball player.
No, he's not. So I'm just saying.
He's not an offensive force.
If they lose this series, it will not be because of Bogut.
No, I don't believe so. I think it will be somewhat of an impact, especially if not so much LeBron James, but if you see like Tristan Thompson really have like a 20-board night and really start to be a factor, because again, who is it? Festus Ezeli is going to play for them. I mean,
Ezeli.
He might get pushed around there if Tristan Thompson really wants to get dirty with it and really gets mucky down low. Then there you go. There is a little bit of an impact. If he goes for a 20-rebound night, if he goes for 5 points and 20 rebounds, a Bismack beyond line, well then okay. There was a little bit of a Bogut different. Gotta love Bismack.
I do.
Gotta love him.
Doesn't get a lot, but he gets the rebounds.
Loves the rebounds. And so yes, if something like that happens, okay, there is a legitimate piece missing because of Bogut, and you saw it there. But overall, I don't see it happening too much. Just like you were saying, and I was saying too, the Warriors, they go small, and that's the whole thing. We see other teams cater to them when they go small. Like LeBron James, we were talking about in Game 2, played 10 minutes at the center position. He played 7 minutes all season. Like I just don't understand that. Now this is something again where Tyronn Lue, head coach of the Cavaliers, will have to actually coach, see if he can actually, do that part of it, not just LeBron James, taking the ball out and watching Kyrie and LeBron go for 41 each. That's not really tough coaching. That's just, okay, roll them out and let's see what happens. The offense didn't change. It was just them making shots. But if you are Ty Lue, you do go big. You test it. You absolutely see if there is something that you can exploit with Bogut being out, even if he doesn't play that many minutes. You roll out, Tristan Thompson. You try to get physical. You try to have LeBron James crash towards the middle. Or if you're LeBron James, I mean, you just have that mindset. Go to the middle. Yes, Draymond Green's going to be back, so it's going to be, a little bit different. Do I think LeBron James is going to go off for 41 points? No, because Draymond Green's going to be on him here, especially if you look at the series in total now. I believe, again, they haven't been guarding him too much, or at least in terms of shot attempts, but I believe that when Draymond was on LeBron was 5 for 14 from the field.
Yeah.
So, again, not too many shots.
Hopefully he's not too close to LeBron.
Yes,
not
I know.
too close.
Again.
Don't need another suspension.
Can you imagine that? All of a sudden they look back and they suspend him for Game 7, Christian?
No, that would be rough.
That'd be a tough one.
I'm not going to be a fan of that.
But overall, I don't see that as a big deal. I don't see. Again, I see it as a loss, and I would say it's slightly below significant.
Yeah.
But again, the way that it's being perceived, it's not as big as people are making it, in my opinion.
Me too.
Now, I could be completely wrong, and all of a sudden, Tristan Thompson goes off, and then you can hammer me tomorrow. When we're on the lawn on D, we're hanging out there. Come down, yell at me, say you're an idiot. I just put money on the Cavaliers, or I put money on the Warriors, and Tristan Thompson went for 30 rebounds. Well, yeah, then yell at me. But overall, I don't know if Andrew Bogut's going to be the defining person or the missing piece in the championship run that is the Golden State Warriors. I just don't see it. Now, I told you this before during the break, Christian. I go, the reason why the Cavaliers are going to win tonight.
Okay, why are they going to win tonight, Tyler? By the way, that is our poll question of the day.
Okay.
Who's going to win tonight, Golden State or the Cavs? And right now, before you...
The smart play is probably the Warriors.
Right now, the Warriors are up 86% to 14, so tell us why the 86% are wrong.
I will say the 86% are wrong because, and again, this is next level. This is next level stuff. We often make fun of Cleveland here, and I think it gets a tad overrated. But I do think that this is something that is, to steal the phrase, so Cleveland. That all of a sudden Cleveland will win Game 6 in Cleveland. Everybody will be rocking, and all the bench players will play better, that whole deal, because they're at home crowd helping them, and they'll win. They'll force Game 7. I'm not saying they're going to win the series.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that they're going to win Game 6 and force Game 7. That'll be the first time in NBA history that a team was down 3-1 and has forced Game 7. And that will be the only thing that Cleveland will be able to hang their hat on for years and years to come. Not a championship, just that they pushed it to the brink. That is something that is a very Cleveland thing, a very Indianapolis Colts type of banner.
They gave all
thing
the
that they will
Cleveland fans the hope.
Yeah, not even the building of the hope and then crashing the dreams. I'm not even saying it like that. I'm saying that fans will brag about this. Like Cleveland fans will hang their hats on something like this. So when they win or lose
Game 7, they'll still brag about this going to Game 7.
Like T-shirts, force 7. Hang a banner, force the Game 7. First team to ever come back in an NBA Finals from 3-1. Like that is something that the Indianapolis Colts raise a banner to. That is something that Cleveland gets up for. Not here in Boston, not here in other big cities that win championships, like a Los Angeles, like a Miami, and all of that. No. But in Cleveland, this is as close as they will get. That's why I think the Cavaliers win tonight.
Okay. You think the Cavs
That's that next level thinking.
Because what about this? A year ago tonight.
Okay.
Golden State.
Okay.
Won the finals.
Was it a year ago tonight?
A year ago tonight.
Okay.
They won the finals 4-2 in Cleveland. In Cleveland. Does deja vu happen again? Exactly a year to the date.
I mean, that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool.
Back-to-back championships, same team, same place. I doubt it. Same date.
Why? Why do you doubt that?
Well, it's the same date. No, back-to-back championships and maybe against the same team.
Back-to-back championships,
but it's literally the same date, too.
Yes.
Like June 16th. It couldn't have been like the 15th or the 17th. Literally June 16th, 2015, June 16th, 2016. Back-to-back titles against the same team in the same place.
I'm trying to remember
it wasn't
if the
even
Lakers
like
did it.
They were in Golden State last year, and no, they had to win it on the road in both places.
I'm trying to remember if like the Heat or the Lakers did it too.
They may have, but I just wondered about the same date in the same place. It's not even like, again, Golden State could have been at home last year, but on the road this year. No. In Cleveland, both games, both went to 6. Everything the same.
I like my reasoning better.
We'll see. No, I'm just saying. I just wonder if people out there are willing to put money on that because it's the deja vu type thing. Golden State wins in Game 6 on the same date as last year.
No, I don't know.
Cleveland,
I don't think that has the same cachet.
No, I'm not saying it's the same as yours. I'm just saying that that's one of the things out there today, saying that if they did it would be literally deja vu. Everything would be the same as it was last year.
I feel like that's one of those stats, though, that you think is very interesting, but then like you realize, because again, there's a lot of back-to-back championships in basketball, and you're just like, oh, it's one of those rare stats that you think is rare, but then you look it up later, and you're like, oh, everybody did that.
Well, no, I'm not saying back-to-back.
It's like 500 home runs. You're like, oh, wow, but then you look at it,
I'm not saying back-to-back's not rare. That happens, obviously.
No, I'm agreeing with you. The date, too. I almost feel like that's it, too.
The team and the place, all the same. That I don't know how many times that has happened. I
feel like that is one of those deceivingly rare stats. Back to back on same date.
Same date, same place.
It's same place. Okay, maybe the
and
place
the same
part.
Team.
The place part too. The play, yes. Okay, so you add those things, and yes, okay.
It's not just the same day. It's everything.
Legitimately the same.
Which I find funny if they can actually do it tonight.
I like it.
I'll take it. By the way, I'll take it either Game 6 or 7. But I think it would be pretty cool if they could win tonight and have the whole everything the same as last year.
Going back to what I was saying, though, it just feels like that, though.
No,
right?
you may be right.
I just feel that is something that is going to happen, and it's a gut feeling, and I'm usually right on these gut feelings.
But what about Cleveland too? Even if they are happy about going to Game 7, but I think part of their fan base,
is
It's a
content
big
with
letdown.
that.
Like they got to Game 7, they're like, "Oh, we're gonna win." Get all hyped up. "Oh, we're gonna win the
Of course.
the NBA Finals. We're gonna have a title for the first time in God knows how long." And then they blow it and get not even like losing Game 7. They like get blown out in Game 7, or they lose in like heartbreaking fashion. I don't think it's
There's really only
between.
one or two ways that could happen.
No, I'm saying you could lose like 5 or 6 points, whatever.
I would still say that's
not
close heartbreak.
Yeah, but no, I'm talking about like
Especially
Curry
for
gets a
Game
shot
7.
from half court with no time left with like 5/10, and that's how they lose, or they lose by 40.
Well, that's just you being Warriors biased, wishing that will happen. That's not actually what you think is going to happen.
No,
that's what you're
I
hoping
think the
is going
Warriors
to
will win
happen.
tonight. I think it's over tonight. I don't think LeBron and Kyrie step up tonight and win Game 6.
But you referenced this during the break, too, and I want to bring it on the air. You were saying that they gave them their best punch, pretty much for that game.
5,
LeBron James 41, Kyrie Irving 41, and you weren't here, but I did talk about this that day. I go, you're right. They're not going to have another 41-point game each. Again, that's never happened before in the finals, where two players on the same team both went off for 40 points. I don't think that that's happening again. But the fact that they are going to be in Cleveland, I think helps because of this. Again, LeBron James is still going to need one of those games where he drops 30 points, 16 rebounds, and he has 7 or 8 assists. Like, he's going to need one of those games. And they can't just be, you sleep through 25 points. No. Meaningful, impactful, a 30-point, 25-point game for LeBron James, hitting big baskets and all of that. But for Kyrie Irving, and you look at it that way, he only has to really do 20. Look, I'm looking at like 25 points from him, because I think when you're at home, other teams are going to play better. Your role players play better at home. Kevin Love is going to get more than 2 points, theoretically. If he gives you 10, J.R. Smith gives you 10, Dellavedova gives you 5. It all would rack up there, and you would still win that game. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you don't necessarily need 41 points out of one guy, but you still need that production from the group.
But we'll see. I think you're right about LeBron. I think he'll get like 30 points, and that's fine. But
he's always been that way.
I just don't think the team is going to shoot 50% from the field.
Well, you say that with LeBron, and I guess you're right. Yes, he's you think he's going to put up typical LeBron numbers, and he has this series. He's had double-digit rebounds and assists and points, and he's put up solid numbers here. But there was a big difference between, again, obviously 41 points, but there was a big difference between Game 5 and then games 1 through 4. He was putting up numbers, but he wasn't putting up meaningful numbers to me.
Yeah.
I look at Game 5, and yes, he was hitting baskets. He scored 41 points, but really, they were 41 meaningful baskets. They were clutch shots. They were, daggers. Those are the things that I look at for LeBron James, and I look at LeBron James. And Kyrie Irving did too. Kyrie Irving showed flashes of Dwayne Wade in that game. Killer instinct. Again, LeBron James wasn't great in the fourth quarter in that game in Game 5. He was not great. It was Kyrie Irving, almost, evolving into a Dwayne Wade type of feeling. That's how I felt. I felt like I was watching an old Heat game when it was LeBron James and Dwayne Wade, and all of a sudden it was, LeBron James carrying them for 3 quarters. Then he kind of fades back a little bit in the fourth, and all of a sudden here comes Dwayne Wade taking over. I felt that way watching Kyrie Irving. And again, it's frustrating if you're a Cavaliers fan, because yes, he does have that capability. He just is very inconsistent with it. Young player, young guy. But he does have that capabilities, and they're going to need that, because I don't know if LeBron James can do that. I don't think he can. He's had big-time games. We all remember it very vividly again here, when it was Game 6 against the Celtics in 2012, when he went off for like a crate. He was just absolutely insane. And he go on to win that series, I believe. I think they went on to win that title that year. And you saw a little bit of it last night. I don't know if you see it again from LeBron James. And if you do, you're going to need other guys, because I don't think LeBron James can do this. LeBron James can take you there. He can take you to the door. He can put your hand on the knob. But he can't slam it shut. You need another guy, which is what they had in Miami and Dwayne Wade, to be able to really shut the door. He can take you all the way there, up the steps, all the way there. He's turning the knobs and everything. He's got the key. But the fact to really slam the door shut, he cannot do that. That's been the book on him for a long time. And Kyrie Irving was able to do that for them last game. And you got to wonder, okay, who is the guy? And Ray Allen did it for them back with Miami. Dwayne Wade did it for them back in Miami. It's historically the book on LeBron James. They're going to need other players to do that in Game 6 and a potential Game 7. It's going to have to be Irving. It's going to have to be Love. It's going to have to be J.R. Smith, Dellavedova of all people. It's going to take somebody else to do that, because I don't know if LeBron James has the capabilities. But that's what I'm looking at tonight. Again, Game 6 happening tonight. Tip-off at 9 o'clock in Cleveland at the Q. We'll take a break here. We'll give you our sound-off next quickly here on Fargo Street, Boston O Radio. 617-619-6400 is the phone number here. It's Boston O Radio. Tyler Sullivan hanging out on a beautiful Thursday. Not bad in the city of Boston. Game 6 happening tonight, NBA Finals, a little Red Sox going on. It's a good little sports day. Good little sports day we got going on here. The U.S. Open's on. Good stuff all around. First, I want to talk about the Red Sox here. The local team end up taking the Orioles last night 6-4, the final score. Stephen Wright looking like a number one starter, which is unbelievable. Wouldn't have thought that at the beginning of the year. 7 1/3 innings, 3 earned runs, striking out 4. He let up a home run. But overall, solid outing from Stephen Wright. Yet another solid outing from Stephen Wright. And Christian, what were you saying as we were going to break there? What were you saying?
I believe he's now the ace of your Boston Red Sox staff. He's an ace in the league. He's also maybe the starter of the All-Star game, I've heard reports. You never know.
Okay.
Wright versus Kershaw?
Okay.
You think?
Maybe.
All-Star game in July?
So here's my question now.
Yeah.
And I want to revert back to what we were talking about in March, in April, when this Red Sox team was just getting started here early in the year. We were talking about expectations. Our expectations were very low. Considering what this Red Sox team is, they've already kind of exceeded some of that. They're coming back down to earth a little bit. But overall, they've exceeded expectations. They're tied for first place in the American League East with that win last night against Baltimore. And what was our big question in March and in April? Or one of our big statements? One of our statements was, well, this Red Sox team needs to have an all-star. And that all-star can't be Brock Holt. If Brock Holt is our all-star come middle of the season here in San Diego, well, something has gone drastically wrong with the Red Sox. Something has gone absolutely terribly wrong in David Ortiz's final year. It just shows you're a bad baseball team. What does it tell us that Stephen Wright's the all-star of this Red Sox pitching staff? What if we said that at the beginning of the year? What if we said, well, what happens if what does that mean going after David Price in the offseason, going after, having all of these guys set up, Eduardo Rodriguez and all of that? And we told you in March and in April that Stephen Wright is going to be your starter. Not just the starter, but maybe the starting pitcher of the All-Star game. What would you have said
that? The Red Sox would be under 500 and probably like in fourth place of the AL East.
On a much bigger question, what does that mean for the Red Sox? What does that tell me for the Red Sox that we're talking about Stephen Wright as an all-star pitcher? That tells me, more than anything else, he's had a great year, no doubt. But also, David Price hasn't lived up to expectations, something that we've hit earlier in the week. And also, Eduardo Rodriguez has not hit expectations. Clay Buchholz has been as advertised. Joe Kelly, same thing. Rick Porcello, middle of the pack guy. And we were talking about a pitcher rising to the occasion. We just assumed it was going to be Porcello, Rodriguez, and one of those two. Clay Buchholz to some lesser degree. To have one of those, rare years until he gets hurt. Or David Price to be the as-advertised ace. I'm just trying to figure out what this tells me. Because, again, this is the narrative today in the city. Stephen Wright, again, solid outing. He's in the the conversations with Cueto. I saw an MLB Network graphic showing us that it was 4 faces. And the 4 faces were Cueto, Kershaw, I think it was Jose Fernandez, and then it was Stephen Wright. And I just go, hold on, wait a minute. There's something wrong with this picture. This can't be right. And then you look at the ERAs, and you say, wow, he's right there. He has the best ERA in the American League, at least going into last night he did. Best ERA in the American League, Stephen Wright. And I'm trying to figure out what that tells me. Yes, he's had a great season so far. But can you win a World Series or contend in the postseason as Stephen Wright as your number one starter, as your all-star pitcher? I don't think you can. And again, he is proving us wrong each time he goes out. But again, that knuckleball, we all know. And you saw it last night for a brief moment. If that knuckleball isn't going right, perfectly right, it gets sent out of the yard. It got sent out of the yard last night on one of those ones that just hung in there. I believe it was on a knuckleball. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe it was a knuckleball that just didn't knuckle. But what does that tell you overall, regardless, with Stephen Wright, the guy that is, again, barely was talked about making the team a year or so ago, and now he is your all-star player, your all-star pitcher? I just keep going back to the Brock Holt discussion that we had earlier in the year. If Brock Holt's your starter, that means everything's gone terribly wrong. Are we in the same kind of instance here with Stephen Wright, talking about just the pitching rotation? Yes, the team has been fine, but does that say more about Stephen Wright, or does that say more about the Red Sox pitching staff, that you needed that guy? And is that more telling about David Price and all those other ones alike? We talked about David Price earlier in the week, talking about how he has gotten better since they have have made the adjustment in terms of lifting his leg up. And since then, he's had a 2.5, 2.6 ERA. The wins haven't been there. I think he's 3-3 right now. Since that, or 3-4. And then he was 4-1 earlier in the year with like a 6.5 ERA. So he's gotten better in terms of ERA. But he still hasn't shown us that ace-like stuff yet. Hasn't shown us that definitive exclamation point moment that, yes, he is a guy that is a legitimate, definitive ace. He's been a good pitcher, quality pitcher, solid one, top of the rotation kind of pitcher recently. Sub-3 ERA, that's pretty dang good. But it hasn't been a legitimate exclamation point. And then you just go at it last night, and you just look at what Stephen Wright's given you this year, and you say just another performance by him that's been solid, like more than solid. Again, a 2.22 ERA. He's 8-4 on the year. 74 strikeouts. Goes 7 1/3 last night. 2 consecutive starts when he goes 7 1/3. So he's going deep into games for you too. And he's pitching in these big moments, in these big series. Again, this is a big series against the Orioles. So again, a lot of credit is due to Stephen Wright. He has been fine. He's been great, actually. He's been really good. But I just start to wonder, okay, what does this mean? Is it the same kind of discussion that we should be having like we were with Brock Holt earlier in the year? We were saying, hey, Brock Holt's your all-star all of a sudden. Well, then that tells you that this offense clearly didn't pick up, or picked up right where they left off at the end of last year, 2015. It just hasn't been the same, and they just haven't been able to figure out. Pablo Sandoval has been awful. Hanley Ramirez has been awful. Travis Shaw didn't pick up where he left off, and the young guys have kind of stuttered here a little bit. That's what we would have been saying, or at least that's what we envisioned we'd be saying if Brock Holt was your all-star last year, positional player-wise. And I'm wondering if you can make the same case with Stephen Wright in terms of the pitching rotation. What does that tell me about David Price? What does that tell me about Clay Buchholz, Rick Porcello, Eddie Rodriguez? Has this been the worst-case scenario or one of the worst-case scenarios for the Red Sox in terms of what they have going on in their rotation? I think it's partly their worst-case scenario. Again, it's not ideal for your $30 million man a season to come out and have a 6 ERA in his first 7 starts. Not really ideal. He's fixed it. But again, it hasn't been ideal. Yes, the back end of the rotation has also been banged up. Clay Buchholz, not even a starter anymore. He's working out of the bullpen, and you really don't even want to see him in the bullpen. Joe Kelly getting injured. You've had a guy named Sean Sullivan come up. Again, great last name. But not the best pitcher in the world. And again, he was the worst pitcher on the worst team last year in the Philadelphia Phillies. He was the 5th starter for the Phillies. And he was the only thing that you could muster up. So again, that's what's telling about this Red Sox team right now, or at least the rotation. Porcello's been solid at the beginning of the year too. He's kind of leveled out here. He's plateaued. You have Eddie Rodriguez who got hurt and he's still trying to come back. He's managing his way through. And also he's frankly just a young guy. So he's going to have just those growing pains naturally. And then there's David Price. And I think out of all of them, it just highlights more to David Price than anything else. Because again, yes, you expect things from Eddie Rodriguez, Porcello, but you kind of know who they are going to be, at least for the time being. David Price hasn't been that guy yet. And I think that's the biggest indictment. We're so surprised at Stephen Wright. And again, by the way, and I think it's fair to mention because people have been kind of freaking out about this, at least on Twitter, and take that for what it's worth. Stephen Wright went 7 1/3 innings last night, and the Red Sox win. And he pitched pretty well. What was it? 4 Ks, 3 earned runs, and whatever. David Price, the last time out, just 2 days ago, we were hammering him yesterday for going 8 innings, losing the game, and only allowing 3 runs and striking out 11. So you look at it and go, okay, well, if he had won that game, do we praise him back and forth? Well, yeah. But that's the point. That's the point. You got to win those games if you're the ace. You have to win those games. Again, wins don't mean too much in terms of evaluating pitchers, in my opinion. I think that it's vastly overrated in terms of determining how good a pitcher is, because wins can fluctuate. But there is something to be said, because it's not entirely useless. There is something to be said for going out and winning the baseball game and actually, digging through. Because it is also telling if you don't win any games, you have to win, and it is telling. But maybe it's not as valuable as it usually is. And so again, going back to the David Price, Stephen Wright thing, we're making it a bigger deal because one, the expectations were a lot lower with Stephen Wright. Again, we didn't expect this. He wasn't really even in the discussion until he played himself into it. And last night too, he won the baseball game. The Red Sox won last night. They lost the night before. You're supposed to win those games if you're David Price. Again, those 2-1 games, those 3-2 games, those one-run games, you're paid $30 million, you got to win those games. You're labeled the ace, you got to be the ace and win those games. Yes, it's against Bumgarner, against the Giants, and yes, it was against Chris Tillman. And again, we can pipe down on the Chris Tillman talk. He's a good player, but Chris Tillman, it's not like it's Bumgarner.
No, he's not in the same class as Bumgarner at all.
That's what people start to do, and it's like, okay, wait a minute.
He's having a good year this year, but there are other years where his ERA is like 4.5. It's not like he's the greatest pitcher of all time. He's not going to the Hall of Fame or anything.
But I just start to wonder, okay, is this the worst case scenario? What is this telling me? That Stephen Wright is getting all-star nods. Yes, it means he's having a good year, an unexpectedly good year, and the knuckleball's been working. But can you be a successful team with Stephen Wright as your all-star pitcher? Can you do that as a Red Sox team? And can you compete with that? We were talking about it with Brock Holt. Can this Red Sox team be a good team this year if he's your all-star? No, you can't.